Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review. Tell a friend on Apple Podcasts. We're trying to get those numbers up. Last time I checked, we're at 110. So yeah. If you can also follow the show on social media, at Reza Rifts, Rezarifts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Help us get those numbers up. That would be very great. You could also follow me on social media at Keith Reza, Reza. Trying to get that social media up. That's like the big thing. I had a talk with my manager today. He's like, social media up. I was like, oh, I guess I'll plug it on the podcast. He's like, you got to do more. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I guess I got to do more. But we have a great show for you. Very excited. Oh yeah. Also, follow us on Patreon. Is it Patreon? Patreon. Yeah, it's Patreon. Follow us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/RazorRiffs61. And you could be a top tier for $25. Now, a top tier, you get the video podcast, you get the podcast 3 days early, and you get a free cameo, and you get shout outs after the podcast. Maybe we'll even start getting the guests to say a shout out to you, or we'll say you had the questions that I have the guests. That'd be a cool shout out, right? I'll be like, now this question is from Mary Swanson. Where do you get your ideas? Something like that. That's a joke from Norm's podcast that the great Sean O'Connor wrote. And then I kind of piggybacked off that after Sean left the show. But that's here or there. Anyways, we have a great show. You've seen him on Home Improvement, Family Feud. He's in all the commercials for tools and beers and stuff. The great Richard Karn is going to be here. I'm super excited. Guys, if you're here for Richard, thank you so much. Follow the show. We got great guests coming on. And if you're new to the show and, or if you've been with the show for a while, follow Richard. It's going to be a great show. Again, if you could subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, that would help us a lot. All right. Enjoy Reza Rifts with Richard Karn coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
Hi, Richard Karn. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You probably don't remember because you meet so many people, but I met you about 5 or 6 years ago at the Palm Springs Golf Resort for Pat Warburton's thing.
Oh, yeah, Patrick's.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've been going to that tournament for 12 years or so.
That's how it's been. I think it's been around for 12 years, right?
Yeah. Well, he used to come to mine. I had one up in Seattle for 18 years.
Oh, nice. Between you, me, and all the rifters, I don't think Pat's a great golfer.
He goes in and out.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of other interests that keep him from practicing.
Yeah. I remember because Pat's my adopted uncle. He's my stepdad's one of his best friends. So we call him Uncle Pat. And so I haven't gone in the past 3 years because of stand-up and COVID. But I remember last year I went, he's just like, I think I got better at golf, Like he's very, very
well,
monotone.
When I started my tournament, I got a lot better really quickly.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, go all in.
Exactly. So you started your own golf tournament, which is fantastic. Like, what gave you the idea to do that? Because I know you like golf, but what made you say, "Hey, I want to do a golf tournament"?
Well, it was early on in home improvement, and I started getting invited to a lot of these kind of charity events, and I thought, well, maybe it's time for me to do one for something that can get me back up to Seattle. I did it for cancer research. My mom had passed from cancer a few years before. And so it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to do something. And thank God I had I had a couple of companies that I represented that wanted to be involved.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you still currently still do it, or?
No, I gave it up, and now I go to Patrick's, and now I
Yeah.
go to like 4 or 5 other guys that used to come to my tournaments.
Yeah. Who is the biggest celebrity you got at your golf tournament?
Wow, there were so many. Well, I'll tell you what. Bill Gates came and played.
Oh, whoa!
And he didn't come as a celebrity,
Yeah.
but I put him with Sam Jackson and Meatloaf. And they had the best time. They had a great time. And then, let's see, Shooter.
Oh.
He learned
Christopher
to play
McDonald,
golf
yeah.
at my tournament. He learned to play golf at my tournament.
It wasn't from Happy Gilmore. He learned from you.
He learned it from he learned it. He shows up to my tournament. He doesn't have shoes. He doesn't have clubs. He doesn't know, and God bless him. He learned how to play golf at my tournament.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I think golf, I think golf is very peaceful. That's why I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm terrible at it. So,
well, you have to look at it from a Zen point of view.
yeah.
If you start competing with everybody, that can get a little nerve-wracking. But if you just compete with your last score, then you're just, you're playing against yourself.
Yeah. When you do these celebrity golf tournaments, do you ever go on with people who were on your team last year? Like they say, "Oh my God, I want Richard Karn to be my celebrity again."
I have. I've had some repeat guys that just said, "You know what? We did so well. We got to have you back again." So, and that's nice. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Or you did so bad, but you were a good hang, right?
Well, that's what you look for when you have a tournament. You want to have people that enjoy being with other people. That maybe the folks that are paying for a foursome. You don't want them to be excluded.
Yeah. Yeah. I was Norm Macdonald's assistant for 9 years, and he did all these golf tournaments, and he was an okay golfer, but I think people just wanted to hang out with him and not really care if they won or not.
Well, he's Canadian. He's got to be, somewhat. He probably had a slap shot. He probably had a good hockey swing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wanted to. We'll jump into home improvement, but I know that's a big part of your life. But I wanted to talk to you about something that you probably don't get asked a lot about this movie you did with Dave Thomas, who I think is great. And I wanted to.
Dave was such a nice guy, such a great guy.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. I was a producer on that. It was called Picture Perfect.
Picture Perfect. Yeah.
Another movie came out with the same title with Jennifer Aniston, but that's not the movie that I did with Dave.
But how is that? Was that your first big, because you were on Home Improvement at the time, was that your first big starring role that you got?
Yeah, I think it was. It was something, and I learned a great deal. I learned a great deal being on that shoot, and we did it up in, was it Toronto or Vancouver? I think it was Vancouver. I think we did it up just outside of Vancouver, and it was about a 14-day shoot. In fact, Dave told me the story about how the McKenzie brothers came about, from SCTV.
Yeah.
Do you know this story?
No, but I know the McKenzie brothers. It's
the McKenzie brothers were brought on because SCTV, being a Canadian show, they have, by contract, they have to have Canadian content. They have to have some Canadian content. And so these stand-up comics go, okay, well, if that's what we need to do, we'll just have these two guys talk about Canada, eh? So how's Canada lately? And they would just make stuff up and just throw Canada in there.
Yeah. I interviewed Dave. I thought he was such a sweetheart. And so I think that's kind of cool that because he's actually a comic genius, and your first, main movie, you got to work with a genius like him. I thought that's awesome.
I did. And, I appreciated it too, because I had watched SCTV. Not everybody watched SCTV. It was kind of it wasn't like SNL.
Yeah.
It wasn't an American institution. It was something you had to find. You had to go out and find.
And I wanted to ask you, did you ever like do stand-up comedy? Because I could have sworn I interviewed Bruce Baum and I watched him at the Improv, like a evening at the Improv, and I could have sworn you were on that. Like I could have sworn all my money, but maybe it was just someone who looks just like you. But I could have sworn it was
I played in a poker tournament with the guy that started
Bud Friedman.
Bud. Yeah, I played with Bud. I don't think I ever ventured onto stage in that sense. I was an actor. I worked with other people's words. Yeah. And gosh, I'm awfully far away. Is this better?
Oh, that's fine. I want you to relax though. If you want to be far away, I get it.
I know. Okay. All right. Yeah. There we go. So, the closest I think I ever got to doing stand-up was doing Family Feud.
Yeah.
There was a script in the sense that the rules of the game and the game, kind of created a kind of, what you say next, but responses to people's answers or whatever happened was just kind of like stand-up. You either rose to the occasion or you just moved on.
Yeah. How cool was Family Feud? Because like, I think like I watch it all the time. And I think like the funniest thing is the answers people say, because you're like, why'd they say these answers? And then like all of a sudden it's on the board.
Exactly. I know. It's I think it's one of the best game shows because of that.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Jeopardy, these guys are like really smart, and the answers, you can't be flip about those answers. And with Wheel of Fortune, it's very strict like that. But with and Match Game, of course, they kind of forced the issue. They would come up with very provocative questions and have people say things so that they could make fun of it. But with Family Feud, it just, you never know what people, how their minds are going to work in the moment. It's kind of stressful, and they want to be right, but
it seems like it's one of those games where a dumb person could actually win. You know what I mean? Like, just,
well, you have to be able to think on your feet. I mean, you have to know certain things and what like that. But yeah, you know what? You don't have to be. You just have to be good at like trivia in a way.
It's like, what's the biggest part of the body that weighs the most if you saw it off? A foot. I don't know.
I know. Oh gosh. A few years later, I did a play called Game Show.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna just adjust that. And we had real people come up from the audience and play, and then there would be a play during the commercial part of the game. So we had real people with trivia questions, and one night this question came up, and it's like on the Greek Isle of Lesbos, what are the people called? And obviously the joke is they're lesbians. Right. So, while they're writing down their answer, I'm like, I just kind of riff with the audience for 15, 20 seconds. I go, yeah, gosh, how many Greek Isles are there? I know I can maybe count 3. I would just, whatever came up, whatever I thought about saying within the context of the show. And then the next question that came up was, you're running around hitting a shuttlecock. What are you playing? What game are you playing? And, you're playing badminton. But, in my head, I went, oh, God, there's a joke there. Yeah. Oh, gosh, there's a joke. And I've got like 2-3 seconds as I'm walking down to the audience while they're writing their answer. And it's like, you want to be able to come up with that, amazing comeback in the moment. But I just kind of like took a breath, relaxed, walked down to the audience. And I went, yeah, you're running around the Isle of Lesbos. Not a shuttlecock to be found. And I couldn't talk for like 15 seconds. I like cracked myself up. The audience is laughing. And it occurred to me, this like, this isn't a real game show. I could stack the questions for jokes that could come up like that, that would seem spontaneous. But I did that for a couple of weeks and then I got bored. It's much more fun to find it in the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And also like 2 or 3 seconds, like, have you ever said something or like something's going to be funny, but then like you forgot. And then like after the moment happens, you're like, oh, I should have said that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yes. The moment is past. You can't go back. And that was one of the hardest things about remembering what was funny when I would do that show, because you're in the moment. So you can't sit back and luxuriate about how funny this was or that moment was great, because you're always moving on. You're always moving. So at the end of the show, I'd go into the director room and I go, there was something funny. Can you rewind and tell me what it was? So I can remember. Yeah. Because that was hard.
Can we refilm?
Yeah. No, I did it pretty much on time. I was really good. I mean, my predecessor was shoot.
I think you took over Louis Anderson.
For Louis Anderson.
Right.
And Louis, just because of the size of Louis, he didn't move that quickly. He couldn't get very far away from his diocese, and his comedy was slower. It's funny, but
right.
they would have to edit a lot of what was funny about Louis, and I did everything kind of, I came out of that sitcom where if it takes too long, they'll cut it. And I was just always working.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Well, you could definitely learn the presence of comedy timing by a sitcom. And, you could also learn that in acting too, I feel.
Well, that's basically, my whole early career before Home Improvement was theater.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. So when all of a sudden I'm doing something that feels like theater, because we have a live audience with Tool Time, but you don't have to, the script was rewritten all week long, unless it was really good. And then it stayed that way. But, jokes would come and go. And that was kind of a new thing for me. All I could think of was Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And, you don't want to just change stuff for the sake of changing stuff or make suggestions that really don't seem to fit. So, it took me a while to learn and get my things in, once I articulated it well.
No, definitely. I know that feeling. I have the same motto, except my motto is with great jokes comes great laughter responsibility. But when you did theater, did you ever do like a Neil Simon play or something? Because I
finally did a Neil Simon play. I hadn't really done a lot of Neil Simon. Maybe I'm not a Neil Simon type or whatever, but I did a production of You Ought to Be in Pictures.
Oh,
3-person
nice.
play. We did it in 10 days of rehearsal with a lot of words to learn. And boy, that first week, I was like skating on thin ice. I would go up and I would just look at the other person and go, I can't help you. I don't know where we are, but then as, it was a 2.5-month run and I had 10 days to prepare. And after the first week, I started to get a little more comfortable, and I'd have this monologue where I would go down the stage over here and I would go, you know what, I'm going to go down here. And so I would start there and I go, nope, the words are over here. It's like everything was based in my action, in my movement.
When you were a young actor starting out, because you started with theater, like was it your goal to hit the TVs and the movies and stuff, or were you just comfortable staying in theater? Like, do you think if you didn't get anything, you'd be happy doing theater just doing?
I thought about it. It didn't seem as accessible as theater to me.
Yeah.
I grew up in Seattle, and Seattle had a lot of really good theater that I was able to go see. And, I had a great high school with a lot of theater at our high school, and the college I went to, the University of Washington, had an amazing theater program. And that's why I moved to New York first, but I had a chance to sign a contract with ABC. And my agents at the time said, no, you don't want to lock yourself into something like that for 7 years. And I go, why not? Yeah, I'm like,
it sounds like a good thing to have.
Sounds like a good thing to me. And they go, no, you don't want to do that. And And so it could my life could have ended up very, very different.
That's so interesting because I thought that maybe this is just wrong information on the internet, but I thought when you had Home Improvement, you didn't have an agent, and like you were like the only one on the cast who didn't have an actual
Well, no,
agent.
I mean, you have agents, and then years go by, and then you don't have an agent.
Yeah.
I when I got to New York, I had an agent, and they got me really good auditions right away because of the school I went to. We had league auditions, so all the graduating classes of these 10 different theater schools all went in. We got agents, we met casting people, and I got my first job, Michelob beer commercial in New York, my first week.
Yeah.
In New York, I had auditions for like one of the replacement casts of SNL. I had
Oh my God.
I had an audition for Amadeus on Broadway up against Tim Curry.
Whoa.
I was a little out of my league. I mean, I could have done them, but I was a little out of my league. I didn't know how to show SNL, Saturday Night Live. Because I hadn't done improv. I didn't have characters, so I didn't know how to show them that I could do, whatever they ask of.
Right.
They wanted people to come up with the content, and I wasn't there yet.
Yeah. I don't like to share this, but I took an improv class at the Groundlings, and they were doing like a showcase for SNL, the best improvers can showcase. So I didn't get that, but I like to say I showcased for SNL because I did the preliminary round. You know what I mean? Like the first round.
Well, John Lovitz came out of the Groundlings.
Yeah, that's true.
There were a bunch of guys that came out of the Groundlings.
Yeah. But he made like the final round. I'm just saying I made like this.
Yeah.
I made the first round.
Well, you know what? Our business is not that easy.
Oh no, it's not. Yeah. But
it's easy when it's easy.
Yeah.
But if you don't get that shot, then you're grappling.
For sure. Is this true too that you auditioned for David Mamet?
I did.
Oh, how was that? Was that intense?
That was it could have been intense,
Okay.
but because I had training, I had a teacher that put us through like really tough auditions.
Yeah.
Just bizarre stuff, asking you all sorts of different things just so that you would be prepared for a moment like being in front of David Mamet.
Yeah.
And there I was. I had moved to New York. I met my wife doing a play off Broadway, and then I think it was like the year we got married. Was it the year we got married? Yeah, I think it was the year we got married. It was like 1985.
Uh-huh.
She got a job doing Girl Crazy at the Seattle Rep with Harry Groener.
Yeah.
And Harry then went on to do Crazy for You on Broadway, which was basically Girl Crazy with only 2 leads instead of 4 leads that Girl Crazy had. But so I went home to Seattle to hang while my wife was working, and I had some auditions, local stuff for like a local commercial and a couple of movie auditions. I had this really great audition for this movie with Deborah Winger, Black Widow.
Okay, Black Widow. All right.
I think it was called Black Widow, and it was a great scene. It was a poker scene. And I had this great joke, the story joke that just paid off. It was a wonderful scene. And I had 3 callbacks for it, and then I didn't hear a thing.
Yeah.
And I went, oh man, that fish got off the hook. So
Right.
then I went in and I auditioned for this other show called House of Games. And they said it's being directed by David Mamet. And I have no idea that David Mamet is going to be in the room. I didn't know I was going to actually audition for David Mamet. I had met, oddly enough, I'd met him a couple of years before because I saw Glenn Ross on Broadway.
Oh, nice.
And I came out of that show. It's a 90-minute show with no intermission. I came out of that show. I went across the street to Charlie's, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm like just telling the bartender how amazing this show is. And he probably heard that every day from somebody who would come out of that show. And then about 10 minutes later, the whole cast with David Mamet come in and are sitting behind me at a table. And that was like one of the first times I ever went up and gushed at like actors and just said how amazing it was to be able to watch you guys perform. And that was, yeah, that was original cast. It was really, really good. It was really good. But anyway, so I walk into the room and there's David Mamet.
Oh my God.
And, I thought about saying that I'd met him in New York, but I thought, no, that seems weird. That seems kind of weird. So I won't say anything. And he's looking at my resume and he's going, oh yeah, you've done a lot of things. I see you've been in New York and like that. And he says, and then he just stops and he looks at me and he goes, do you have any hobbies? And I have no idea. The word hobby is like a blank in my mind. I was like, hobby, like collecting coins? Like what is a hobby? Yeah. And I finally blurted out. He goes, well, yeah, I like to ski. I'm a snow skier. That's kind of a hobby of mine. He goes, oh, great. Okay. All right. So tell me, what's the most important thing? If you're going to tell somebody the most important thing about skiing, what would that be? And I go, well, the most, and he goes, no, stop. Don't tell me. Tell me, say this line. Say, I wish you would call me if you're going to be late coming into work in the morning. Yeah. I want you to say that line to me while explaining to me the most important thing about skiing. And, it's like my mind immediately went back to school. I went, oh God, I think we had something like this before. This is just, he's just giving me inner monologue, which has nothing to do with the line. So I just went, okay, in my head, I'm going, okay, the most important thing about skiing is, you want to stay relaxed, because if you tense up, and then I'm going, yeah, well, I wish you would call me if you were going to be late coming into work in the morning, and he looked at me like, that was great. Yeah. That was fabulous. And, and that was the end of the audition. And I go away and I got it.
Nice.
This little scene in House of Games with his then current wife, Lindsay Krause. And oddly enough, who else was in House of Games was Joe Mantegna.
Oh, nice.
Who I had also seen in Glengarry Glen Ross.
So it's like it all like comes full circle.
It all comes full circle. So I show up in the morning and I'm going over to craft service and I'm getting a bagel or something like that. And I hear Richard, and I turn around and it's David Mamet. I go, hey, David, how you doing? He's going, oh, I'm good. Are you enjoying your time in Seattle? I go, yeah. I had a callback for this really great role. It was a movie called Black Widow. And he goes, oh, was it a poker scene? And I went, yes, it was a great scene. He goes, oh, the director's a friend of mine. He called me up and asked me if I'd like to do that scene.
Oh my God.
And I said to him, so you took my job? I had 3 callbacks for that, and you just offered it to you? Like he goes, yeah, I know. I owe you one. I go, yeah, you owe me one. And it paid off because, the scene I did was superfluous to the movie. I mean, the scene was kind of, they had done the same thing, 2 other times, and he was just getting more footage or whatever scene he thought might work best. And so he writes me a letter saying, I'm sorry, Richard, I'm cutting you out of the movie, but I wanted to let you know. And so I wrote him back. I said, okay, well, you remember you owe me one. You owe me one. So if at some point you can get me the footage of that scene, I would really appreciate it. And he sent me the footage. I had the footage. I put it on my reel, and it was like,
oh my God, I should have looked up that reel. I want to see that.
Well, I don't know where it's at now. It's on 35 millimeter.
Yeah, you can find anything on the internet, Richard. I mean, it's not. You just.
Well, you can.
That's the scary part. But I'm so glad that story worked out for you, because I would have, like, when I'd be telling him the story, I'd be like, he said, oh, he got offered. He's like, and that's because I denied it, because I thought you were a better role for
No, and when I went and saw the movie, I saw that scene and I go, oh, he was great. He was so good in that scene.
Yeah. And then you also did an episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy, and I think that's freaking fantastic, because that's
weird. Well, Bill Nye's from Seattle.
Yeah.
So we kind of have that, kind of thing, but I don't I don't truly remember doing that show.
Oh, you don't? Wow.
What did I do? Do you remember what I did?
I do remember you played a version of Al on Bill Nye the Science Guy. So like he was just talking to you and you were just like, that's right, Bill, you know, all that stuff.
I've been in this business a long time, and I'm just now rewatching Home Improvement again.
Yeah.
After not really watching it for 30 years. I mean, I watched it when it came out, but I didn't ever find myself rewatching reruns or anything like that. So now I'm watching the show 30 years later with really no angst about what was cut or what did they edit or what was going on at the time. I'm just watching the show and I'm laughing. I'm laughing. Oh, I go, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. I mean, I'm watching this one episode and, it's where Al is Bachelor of the Month in Detroit or something like that. And all these women show up to Tool Time. And one of the women in the audience stands up and goes, Al, and I say to her, she says, well, we're talking about windows today. She goes, oh, well, what would be your favorite window? And the actress was, she was on Elementary.
Okay.
As Watson.
I don't know.
Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu. Okay.
The actress was Lucy Liu before Lucy Liu.
Yeah. Okay. So that's awesome, right? Like,
I know it's weird that you look back at that and you go, oh, wow, that is interesting.
Do you think to yourself, maybe Lucy Liu could put me in Charlie's Angels 4 or something?
Well, they made a lot of those, didn't they?
Yeah. But before we go into Home Improvement, I also did some research and I haven't seen this movie, so I apologize. But you did a movie called Mr. Blue Sky, which I looked at the plot of it, and it sounds very beautiful because it's about Down syndrome. And
yes,
I think like that's because I have autism, so like movies with disabilities like really touch my heart. Like I like that.
Yeah, it was quite amazing and interesting storyline. Is that my son, who does not have Down syndrome, falls in love with a woman who has Down syndrome. And they were childhood friends. And I kind of blamed her for my wife's accident where she dies. And she had nothing to do with that, but I kind of blamed her for that. And, I become like an alcoholic and there's like all this weird stuff and they work it through and, love finds a way. Yeah. And my character comes to terms with it.
Oh, that's awesome because I definitely want to check that out because like I said, I like movies like that because I also feel Hollywood gets disabilities wrong and stuff. And I'm not saying they do it on purpose. I just think that they don't really, like I can't speak on Down syndrome, but for autism, I think they get autism totally wrong. You know what I mean? Like they just get a regular guy who acts autistic, but it's like people on the spectrum don't know how to fix bones in their mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the Good Doctor. I don't know.
I know, but it's dramatic license.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they use that aspect of autism as just the natural human tendency to be uncomfortable in most situations.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not uncomfortable in like talking to celebrities and stuff because like I'm like a D-list celebrity, I'm a stand-up comedian. So I feel connected to any celebrity, but like random people, like at the grocery store, it's really hard for me. Like I can't check out groceries or go to a restaurant and order. Like it's seriously very hard for me. So like, I'm trying to say like, you're my brother, I guess. Anyways.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Awkwardness gone. Now I wanted to ask you about Home Improvement.
Well, I never felt awkward.
Oh, okay. Awkwardness not gone. All right. Air 5. I wanted to ask about Home Improvement because the first 2 seasons, you were just kind of like the guy. You know what I mean? Like you had 3 or 4 lines in every episode, and then after that, you became a big plot in a lot of the episodes and stuff. So like, how was
I know.
that?
Well, you know, I've told this story thousands of times where I wasn't really cast to
Yeah,
play Tim's assistant. I was filling in for Stephen Topolowski,
yeah,
who from Groundhog Day.
yeah,
And so because I knew the producers, writers, Matt, David, and Carmen, I knew them from something I did in Indiana like a few years before Home Improvement. And so when I found out about the show and asked them if I could audition, they told me straight up, this is no, there's nothing in it for you. We've already cast Tim's assistant. You wouldn't be right for it because we wanted somebody older, somebody taller than Tim. And we got Stephen Tobolowsky, but come in and audition because there might be a guest star role down the way, or something that you could do. And so I went in and I auditioned and made them laugh. And then they called me and they said, listen, we're in a bind. Stephen is doing a play. I think it's a play. I thought he had been doing a movie, but I think it was a play he was doing, and he couldn't get away from it to do the pilot. So they asked me to do the pilot.
yeah,
The pilot was done in April. The show, if it got picked up, would be starting rehearsals in July. So I said, yes, I would love to do the pilot. And so they kind of changed the name of Tim's assistant from Glenn to Al. They pared it down a little bit, so I didn't really have much to do. I mean, yeah, it was all about Tim for the pilot anyways. And I was just in the background kind of sweeping up, and he made a butt crack joke about me and this and that. And so I was, all my action was reaction to Tim for that pilot. And something I just found out was that they almost didn't show that show as the pilot as the first episode. They felt that Tim didn't track well with women, and they wanted to try a different show, for the first show. And the writers went, no, we adamantly believe in this pilot episode is going to be great, and we will not change it. And thank God, because the show came out of the starting box in the top 10.
Yeah. And, I guess my question was, after the first couple seasons, you got more involved in the storyline, and because obviously you're a cast member now, and did you get a lot more involved with it because your chemistry with Tim was just really shining and the writers thought, hey, we should put more Al in it, or how?
Well, a little bit. Yeah, Tim and my relationship actually kind of grew naturally. It wasn't something that the writers decided to write and then find actors to play that.
Yeah.
It was because I was just filling in. The audience was ahead of us. And I say us, Tim, me, and the writers were ahead of us as far as my responses to Tim. They helped the writers kind of, massage how these two guys would work together in a way. And it just kind of came naturally, which was nice. It was nice to be able to do that. And about the third or fourth episode is when they brought me on as a regular character, because Stephen got another job or a movie and couldn't do 2 or 3 episodes. And then what Tim and I were doing was working, and they just said, you know what, this is working. Yeah. This wasn't what we had planned on doing, but this is working. So this is what we're going to do.
So it's one of those things where you thank God or whoever you believe in that Stephen got another job, right?
I know. Well, Stephen never not worked. He's fine. He's always gonna find something, and this was a big break for me. So I appreciate his work ethic.
And then Pam Anderson was on the show for the first couple seasons. So how was that? And
she was great. Yeah. Pam was and she was from a small town on Vancouver Island, Ladysmith. I think she was from Ladysmith, where oddly enough, my grandfather had a boat, and we would boat up into the Canadian San Juans during the summer, and Ladysmith was one of the places we would dock and get gas or something like that. So Pam was a small town Vancouver girl who happened to be a playmate.
Yeah.
I don't know if Disney actually knew that she was a playmate. Otherwise, she might not have gotten that job, but it worked out.
Yeah. She hit it well.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's actually very funny though. And I think like that's what a lot of people don't really know about her. Like I've seen her around at the stand-up circuit just hanging out and stuff, and like she has really funny stories. So I could just sense the comic timing that she brings to anything,
Yeah. Well, she's savvy, and she paid attention, and she were however, she would come to rehearsal without makeup on or whatever. And then when the first time we went out to some event where there would be press and people, she came in this makeup, she just, it was off-putting in a way, because it was so striking. And I go, Pam, what, you're really pretty without all that makeup. She goes, yeah, but this is what people expect. And I go, I never expected that. And I like you. And she goes, no, you don't understand. I go, well, okay, I guess I don't understand. But no, now she's understanding that she doesn't need all that makeup. So it took 30 years.
Isn't that weird how like guys and girls are different? Because like guys like you and me, we don't need makeup to go to a big party. We could just be like, hey, we're cool.
Well, there are some guys.
Yeah, but we don't need to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know.
So I wanted to ask you about the three children on the show, because they're all pretty funny, and I wanted to know like what's it like working with kid actors in that time, because that's kind of what the big plot of the show is, and you had a lot of scenes with them too, like you were babysitting a lot.
I did. I had a few scenes with them. I didn't have a lot of scenes, but because Tool Time was its own kind of standalone thing. So every once in a while, I'd have scenes with the kids, and that was fun. They were great guys. My son ended up being a trick-or-treater on one episode. He was
how cool is that?
He was little Simba.
Oh, nice.
If you go and see one of the Halloween shows, because Randy, or Jonathan Taylor Thomas, answers the door, and at the door was Simba and Buzz Lightyear. And they were going to get Tim's daughter to play Buzz Lightyear, but she wouldn't do it. She didn't want to do it. So they got the costumer's daughter to play Buzz Lightyear, when Randy opens the door and sees these two characters. So,
for the folks at home to explain, because Jonathan Taylor Thomas was in Lion King and Tim Allen was in Toy Story. So that's that's like one of those 6 degrees of Simba. Right? Or Kevin Bacon? I don't know the name.
It was Symbionic.
Symbionic. Yes, exactly. Oh man. And I wanted to ask you, like, when you did Tool Time, because usually when you film sitcoms, there's an audience there, but Tool Time was also like a filmed audience. So I was wondering, are the people in the audience, were those actors or were those real audiences?
Well, if you had lines, those were actors that were hired. But everybody else were people that wanted to be, they wanted to be in Tool Time, and those seats are not as comfortable as the other seats in the other part of the stage. They were the bleachers, and also friends of the cast would end up being there. I mean, my dad was in there. I think my sister was in there. There were different people on different weeks that they would kind of highlight.
Yeah. So, how like you said, the actors are there. So, like, were the actors there the whole time, and they're like incognito, like, oh, I'm on the show, but they're acting like they're not on the show, or like, do you not know how that worked?
No, the scene really, was maybe a 3, 4, 5 minute scene, and so they would be sitting there, and then Tim would come to the audience and go, "So, you, sir, what do you think about this?" And it would be an actor that has his lines, and I don't. Well, after the first take, the audience kind of knew that,
right?
So, but yeah, it was very clever the way we put that together.
No, definitely, yeah. And then when you did the segments offsite, where like you guys are building a house or outside or whatever, how do you like film that? Like, did you just pick a random day in the schedule and just film that, or?
No, that was Thursdays were usually, scheduled for off-site filming. We rehearsed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, camera block Wednesday, or actually camera block Thursday. But if we were shooting a scene, that would usually be on Thursday, so that they could then get the scene together and play it for the audience Friday night.
Yeah. Oh no.
And get the laughter from the audience Friday night. And most of the construction sites were all Disney property.
Oh, really?
When we started the show, Disney didn't own ABC, and about 2 years into our run, Disney buys ABC, and so they started building a couple of other things, and that's where we drop, when we dropped the beam on the car, or where Tim fell into the porta potty. Those were all buildings that Disney was building on the lot.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Did you or Tim ever do your own stunts on that, or did you guys have stunt?
They wouldn't let us really do our own stunts. They, for the big things. But I remember doing one big stunt, which was where I had to catch a turtle scooter as it was falling into this cement walkway that we had just laid. And I had, we did it at the Warner Ranch, which was not on the Disney property. It was a couple miles from us. But the house that we used was the Bewitched house, the outside of the Bewitched house. But it was also the Lethal Weapon house. It had been used in a lot of things. But I had one take. I knew I needed to do this in one take because it was about 115 degrees in the valley, and if I didn't catch Scooter, I would have to go change out of my shower, get into it, because I'm falling in wet cement, what it looks like cement. And so we practiced a little bit, and then we did it, and I caught that turtle in one take. It was brilliant.
Oh, that's awesome. I have two more questions. I want to respect your time, but I wanted to ask you, after Home Improvement ended, did you ever think to yourself, hey, we should do a spin-off show for Al, kind of like how Roseanne did the Connors and stuff? And then,
I thought about that. In fact, there was the possibility that they would do Harry's Hardware.
Oh, nice.
And remember that little thing I threw out there that Disney bought ABC?
Yeah.
Well, Disney bought ABC, but they wanted to sell the show to themselves for less. And the other part of the team, Matt, David, and Carmen, kind of said, no, we should be able to get more money because this is a hit. And they were in a lawsuit for 30 years.
Oh, my God. Are they still in the lawsuit? That's a long lawsuit.
None of them want to admit that they're wrong. And really, it's, Disney was wrong.
Right.
They don't want to set precedents.
Yeah. That's like the history longest.
Yeah, it's a business decision.
Yeah. Well, you could also now, because with cell phones and stuff, you could do your own little clips of Al and give advice for the fans. You know what I mean? Like Cameo, but just be it's Al, yo. I don't know.
I could do that.
Yeah.
I should. Tim and I did another show for the History Channel called Assembly Required, which was a little bit like that. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll take you up on it.
Yeah, I think that would be great because hardcore fans like me, we want more Al. We're yeah.
I'm like cowbell. Is that what I'm like?
No.
We need more cowbell. We need more Al.
Well, you know what is so special about your character is I never had a lot of friends, and I've never had I've had best friends, but I've never had friends where they were like Al. And I thought that was the beauty of it, is because no matter what's Tim going through, Tim picked on you a lot, but at the end of the day, you loved him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was just so beautiful, so yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. That I think I contributed to that a lot. Yeah. But the writers also helped a lot with creating that story and those things that he would have to overcome.
Yeah. So I think that's why, people want more Al, because they want that best friend. Hey, Al cameo.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go start working on that.
All right, cool, excellent. And my last question for you: if you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Well, there's the whole Back to the Future time travel continuum thing like that. Because if I told myself certain stuff, things would change.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't be in the same situations or the same stuff. I'm from Seattle. When I moved out of Seattle, we had Boeing and Weyerhaeuser. Those were the big companies out of Seattle. So when I moved to New York, all of a sudden Microsoft happened, REI, Nordstrom, Starbucks, Cutter and Buck, Amazon. I might have told my younger self to invest in Seattle.
Throw a couple of dollars to the Starbucks, right?
Yeah. But then, I'd be like a billionaire by now.
Yeah. Oh man. I thought you were going to say, something like, "Hey, keep the beard forever." I don't know.
Well, the first year of Family Feud, they wouldn't let me shave.
Yeah. Why not?
I wanted to shave down to a goatee because they didn't know if people would recognize me.
Oh, wow. Well, I recognize you with the goatee, so I think you should.
There you go.
You should say, "Hey, call Keith Reza. He'll tell you an honest opinion." Richard, where can the folks follow and support you? You got Instagram or social or something like that?
Yeah, I think I'm at the real Richard Karn, or at I'm old. I have the generation that had to learn all this stuff. So my son put it together, but you can find me somewhere. I'm not that much on social media, but I'm there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I tried really hard to not ask the same questions you asked. So I'm sorry.
No, you were great. I mean, you brought up a lot of things, like the thing with Dave Thomas.
Yeah.
What a wonderful time that was.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for saying yes. I really do appreciate it. And have a great day. And thanks for being my best friend for 45 minutes.
All right. You take care, buddy.
All right. Bye, Richard. All right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Rifts. Follow us, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.